afternoon, bloomers and friends, and here we are again with another AfterBloom. And I am here with the lovely Shelley Somerville.
You are too kind.
And she's going to give us some updates on what's going on with the education ministry and what has happened, what is going on now in the presence of the sabbatical, and kind of fill us in. Good afternoon, Shelley. Thanks for being with us today.
Good evening. It's a
Well, it
pleasure
is
being
actually
here.
is evening. So, how are you doing today?
I'm a little out of sorts today. I started getting some dizzy spells earlier, so we'll see if I still make any sense, but I'll be delighted to talk about the education ministry.
Well, we'll not take up a whole lot of your time, but just kind of let us know what's been going on with it, what you have done, and what you're doing now, and maybe plans for the future.
Yeah, well, this is my second year of coordinating the education ministry and hosting most of the book studies and all. We're actually on hiatus right now for the summer. I think people are about ready for a break. I have a core group of about a dozen to 15 people who turn up, which is typical for a Presbyterian church. And we've had a very active year this year. And we did our first ever series of workshops on white privilege, which was very interesting. When that was back in February, March. And we had a group of about a dozen people there, and tremendous diversity when we started. On the one hand, people who've spent much of their lives fighting for civil rights, and on the other hand, people saying, I don't know why I'm here. I'm not a racist, but I was curious. So, and the group really came together beautifully. I mean, I get huge value out of doing this, facilitating this, because I learn something all the time. And it's in the discussion that we learn more. So that was one of the things we did. We're going to rerun that in October because now the people have heard about it. It's UCC materials. I have supplemented it with a lot of video materials I got online that is really on point and very heartwarming. Certainly brought tears to my audience on a couple of occasions. So that was one thing. We also studied the Nag Hammadi Gospels, which folks may not know, some of which are part of Q. The Gospel of Thomas probably predated the Gospel of Mark, the first written gospel, and a much more mystical, more like John's writing, much more mystical idea about what Jesus the Christ was teaching, and showing that women were very much in leadership in the early church. It was the bishops who didn't want them to continue in that role. But without going into that, this summer, we're continuing though with Bible Bites. We'll be doing it tonight, which is a whole lot of fun. People should try it. We're looking at Psalms and Proverbs and sharing what we think about it. You don't need to be an expert in the field. We read it as we go, no preparation required, no homework. Just a chance to really get more familiar with parts of the Bible that we may not have been involved in.
Yeah, and Bible Bites is an excellent and awesome way to read the Bible, because, within the course of a year or two, Bible Bites has gone through the entire Bible, and do they focus mostly on the New Testament, or
it's been mainly the Old Testament because it's less familiar. But I'm planning to move forward into the New Testament. Maybe we'll take a bite at Revelations, which is always a whole lot of fun, and was proclaimed prophetically back at the time of Babylon and Nebuchadnezzar by Ezekiel the prophet. Very similar, as I'll be preaching on July the 8th, as I stand in for Kevin on one or two sessions this summer.
And the other awesome thing about Bible Bites is you get this education that in this day and age can be real handy to have the information when you are combated with so much misinformation about Christianity
Yeah.
and what the Bible actually says. So,
Yeah, it's very sad. It's the world's great misunderstood book.
yes.
For a start, the Nag Hammadi Gospels, 50 at least, and there's probably another hundreds that haven't been discovered, were declared heresies. So there's only 27 books in the New Testament that Irenaeus, Bishop of Lyon in the 2nd century, actually the 3rd century, said this is what it is. And that's where we got the canon and John and everything. But you're right, it's the Vatican Council, Vatican II, established this notion. We're going to do a 3-year cycle, and we're going to, which gives us in church on a Sunday a chance to hear readings all the way through Mark, Matthew, and Luke, with occasional input from John.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's what's going on Bible Bites wise, and as we approach the fall in September, probably late September, we'll be looking at a very interesting book called The Feminine Face of God. And it's interviews with women who have deeply spiritual lives, some very well known, activists in the feminist movement and so on. And that book describes how they, as children and as adults, evolved spiritually. The notion that we're all different. We may share the Christ inside us, but we're all personality-wise different. And it's fascinating to see the diversity in learning styles and how their spirituality evolved. It's really very compelling reading. Available on Amazon, and we'll be putting out posters about that at the end of the summer.
Nice. It sounds fascinating. We don't hear enough and get enough in our Christianity about the women that are involved, that were involved in leadership roles. That gets kind of pushed in the background and
pushed is the word. I mean, just let's take Mary of Magdala. She was one of the apostles. There were other women apostles. There wasn't just the 12 at the Last Supper.
Exactly.
There were children, there were women, there were families. Everyone was welcome at Jesus the Christ table, which is as we welcome everyone to Bloom in the Desert, to our table.
And so these opportunities to go to Bible Bites or participate in book studies educate us all when we participate in them, and we learn a great deal. And we have a greater understanding of our own faith and the faith that we have committed ourselves to. And I think that's important.
Yeah, and the misunderstandings.
Yes.
Mary of Magdala was never a prostitute. There are 5 Marys in the Old Testament, one of whom had something of a seedy life, and Pope Gregory in the 5th century just said, oh, they're all the same person. So thus removing Mary of Magdala from history, who was clearly a great leader. In fact, in the Nag Hammadi Gospels, there's a Gospel of Mary, and if you read that, you will hear her explaining to the disciples are fishermen. They good people, but not the smartest people around.
Yes,
and she would explain, what was Christ talking about? What does he mean?
Yes, she
body,
was like
body and
the
blood.
Christ
We're eating body
translator
and blood.
to
Absolutely.
to the fishermen.
Yeah, in fact, she got the title apostle to the apostles. That's what she was.
And you know, it's amazing to learn these things, because most Christians go through their entire life not even knowing any of this, and it really is quite sad. You know, they get complacent in what they know, and they're good with that. But there's so many more stories and lessons to be taught and learned that are just not in the Bible and have been left out.
And in the end, they're all about love, loving and forgiveness. You could replace the entire New Testament with saying it's all about love. Love God, love your neighbor.
Yes, exactly. And that's why one of my favorite passages in the Bible is not John, what is John 13, 16, 17? It is 3, 34, 35. I think I like the way that's said much better.
Yeah. And Matthew 22, that's
Yes.
where the instruction, what's the greatest commandment?
Yes.
That's it. And what I love is in that last verse, verse 40, Jesus says, and all the prophets and the law, all the Mosaic law that the Jews have been following,
Yes.
stand on these commandments. This is what it's all about, love.
Yeah, and you know it's so ironic that people miss that. It's so sad that people miss that, and that people want to make it about something else, but it's not.
Yeah, it's
very
certainly not
simple.
about bigotry and hatred.
No, it's not. And I'm hoping that we can come together as an America, and really see that. And I hope the people that already see that shout it loud and proud, and voice it very strongly, and maybe we can pull some of those others over.
Well, my prayer is that everyone realizes the divinity inside them. There's
Yeah.
not somebody on a cloud out there.
No.
It's in here. They need to go in their hearts, find the love in their hearts, get beyond the fear and the hatred and the anger, and realize that we're all human beings, spiritual beings, living human lives.
Yes, exactly.
And before we close here, I would like to make the point that we got a telephone call coming. Yes, God, coming in right there. Very much want people to suggest new ideas for the education ministry. It's not set in concrete. Let's find some new things to do. There's the Sunflower Learning Channel, which I set up on Facebook. In there is essentially all the materials we've used in the past 2 years, a chance for people to study on their own or see postings about forthcoming events. And Sunflower Learning Channel.
So you heard her. She's looking for ideas for her education ministry, and it's a chance again for bloomers to participate. And I think this ministry is a wonderful ministry because, as I said earlier, it gives us the opportunity to delve deeper into our faith, learn more about it, and have a greater understanding of what it truly is. And we all know what the bottom line message here is, as we said, love one another, love thy neighbor, and love thy God.
And have fun while we're doing it.
Yes,
we
exactly.
laugh a lot. And not only will education be for people who are in the classroom here in the Bloom office, we are on Zoom video going to go out nationally, and others will be able to participate by video conference, even if you're not around.
There you have it. That's awesome. Technology is wonderful. What I would add to that last message is, in those string of loves, nowhere in there is the word hate.
No.
So let's keep that in mind. We are meant to love, not to hate. And with that, I thank you for joining us, Shelley, today on AfterBloom.
A blessing, thank you.
And I thank you all out there for watching AfterBloom. And we'll be doing more this week. This past week will have been the video part 3 with Ruth Durant, and you'll hear what she had to say. And we'll have more of that, her interview, up on BloomTube, and we'll get it over to the Sunflower Learning Channel, so they'll have the entire installment of interviews, and we plan to even do more interviews with Ruth Durant, because she is a plethora and wealth of knowledge. 96, is a lifelong UCCer. So
God bless him.
it's wonderful to have people like that in our congregation. So thanks again for joining us, and until next time, if you can't join us this Sunday, Please be with us in spirit, and please keep us in your prayers as we keep you in ours. God bless, and blessings to you.